Hello and welcome to Free the Mind UK, a chat with a therapist. And tonight we've got a fantastic guest in the way of Janet Thompson. Really excited about this talk. It's going to be very, very interesting, very informative, and well worth a watch. And if you are watching, by all means, put some questions into us or into Janet to answer. That would be fantastic. Anyway, my name is David Carson. I am also a therapist. I do hypnotherapy and integral eye movement, amongst other things. You can find me on www.freetheminduk.co.uk. So before I introduce Janet, I'm going to play our intro video. Here we go.
Not sure what therapy to choose? Free the Mind UK presents a chat with a therapist. Join us live for an up-close informal discussion of the various holistic therapies available, helping you make that important choice.
Hello and welcome. Joining us tonight, and it's such a pleasure to have you on, and I know it's going to be a fantastic talk about TFT, which is going to be amazing. Yes, indeed. And I just want to tell the viewers a little bit about you, Janet. You've got over 25 years experience helping people, change their mindsets and helping them. You're a master NLP practitioner. You're a qualified life coach, and you've got a master's degree in nutrition and exercise. I can imagine that's very useful. So, Janet, as I say, it's a pleasure to have you on tonight. It's really interesting because I've got someone, on the stream, right? You can bring people in. I've got someone on the stream here who wants to come in. I don't even know who they are, so I can't let them in. I've got no idea who you are, my friend. But anyway, so Janet,
yes,
about Thought Field Therapy tonight. It's a very interesting subject. But before we go into massive detail, would you be able to give us like a little overview of your journey to this point,
Yeah, of course. Well, I started off actually doing things in terms of fitness from the neck down. In other words, the physical body. So in what feels like a former life, I actually owned 3 health clubs, and I was all about the fitness and the nutrition, which I'm still passionate about. But what I realized was, and I did a lot of weight loss. I had I had 2 successful weight loss books. I was on GMTV every morning. I had a #1 fitness video. It was going absolutely great. And I was working with people in the club, and it was working for a lot of people, but a lot of other people were going, I know what to eat. I just need to sort my head out.
Wow.
And I thought, God, I've spent all these years studying nutrition, but actually I need to help people sort their head out. So actually the first thing I did was clinical hypnotherapy. So I qualified as a clinical hypnotherapist first before I discovered NLP, and I've done some CBT and various other different therapies. Mm-hmm. And then it was actually on my NLP course that I discovered TFT, which I'm just going to refer to as tapping, because it is, the original tapping therapy, but I'll talk about that in a minute. And so and I talk about this in my book, so it's a very shared experience. So, so I'd had a very traumatic experience at home personally. My son's best friend had died.
Oh, wow.
And he had lost the plot, as had all of the boys of that age. They were 20 and 20 years old. And so I go on this NLP course, a week later. My son had come home 2 days before, just in bits. And, it just, everything had just blown up. And the Tom who died, bless him, his mum's one of my best friends. So you can imagine emotions were all over the place.
Absolutely.
And so I go to this NLP course. It was actually a Paul McKenna course with Richard Bandler.
Oh, wow.
And the first thing they did is say, right, okay, we're going to set a happy anchor. So I want you to imagine there's a big red nose in front of you, and everyone do like that, like a comic relief nose. And every time I go, everyone's going to laugh and think of the funniest thing that's ever happened to you. Ha, ha, ha. So there's, you know, a couple of hundred people or whatever in the room. And everyone's pressing this and laughing. And I just sat there and I thought, nothing's funny. Nothing's funny. You know, I just could not get up anything other than the trauma. And, you know, this was the first day, and I'd paid for 10 days in a London hotel, paid a fortune for the course. And I went back and I said to one of the assistants, I need to go. I can't do this. I had tears streaming down my face. And she said, do you mind if I try something? And I said, no. And she said, you haven't got to tell me what it is, but is it something that's happened? And I said, yes. And she started tapping me.
Wow.
And I felt the biggest shift. And I sort of shake, and I felt it's like, you know, you see on these wildlife programs when a snake slides out of its skin. And so that happened. And then I went, and then I got another layer of upset thinking about another element of it. And she just kept tapping and peeling the layers away. And after about 10, 15 minutes, I certainly didn't go to feeling joyful. I didn't feel traumatized anymore. And in that short time, she got me to a place where I could just function at a neutral level. No highs, but no lows.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer. And I remember sitting there thinking, well, none of this NLP bollocks. What? I need to know what that is. And it got me through. I learned a couple of bits and it got me through. And I just enrolled in a course, you know, I think before I'd finished the NLP course, I'd enrolled in that. And then very quickly met Roger at an event in London, and who they allowed me to fast track into the advanced TFT. And I was lucky enough to be mentored by Roger, the creator.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've never looked back. And I wouldn't say that I use it instead of everything else. I use it as a backbone to everything else. You know, everything else has its place. And so, yeah, I was lucky enough to write a book. So how that came about, I was working away. A friend of mine rang me and she said, Janet, you gotta contact Radio 2. It's Chris Evans, Drive Time, and he's doing a thing about cravings. And you need to do that thing you did with me. This is one of my clients who's an actress. Do that thing with me that you got me to stop craving chocolate. And she went on and on and on. So I thought, oh, for God's sake. So anyway, I just text the show. Next morning, I get a phone call saying, we'd love to ring you. And I said, do you want me to come in? He went, no. It'll just be 2 minutes over the phone. Then I get a phone call. Chris is on your website. He does want you to come in.
Oh, wow.
So I go in and I'm doing like 2 hours in and out with Chris Evans. I was tapping Sally Traffic. I mean, I was tapping anybody who wouldn't get out of the way fast enough, to be honest. And it went amazing. My website crashed. I had 7,000 inquiries, and it was just fabulous. And Hay House editors were listening, who'd been my previous girl that I'd worked with before when I was with HarperCollins. And so I just happened to send them a press release, and within a week I had a book deal to write all about TFT. Wow. So really it all happened quite quickly, and I wrote to Roger when I'd finished the manuscript and said, look, I could have just written it and not got his approval, but of course out of total respect, I wanted to. So I did that, and he wrote me the most glowing introduction to the book. And I've been a real advocate of it ever since. I mean, just the concept of tapping, which Roger created and from which everything else has developed, was just phenomenal. You know, in terms of holistic therapy, I think it compares to discovering penicillin.
Wow.
You know, in the traditional world, which has gone on to help and be developed in so many other ways. And I think the concept of tapping on energy points in the body had been staring us in the face, and nobody had connected it as something you can do, and you can do it on yourself. You don't even have
Yeah,
to go.
it's a beautiful thing about it, isn't it? It's one of them
Yeah.
techniques that, you know,
Yeah.
you can use on yourself, as you say.
Yeah. So that's in a nutshell is how I got into it. And I use it with everything. You know, there's never a session, whether it's a group session or, you know, I'm working with someone one-to-one, or even in my books and stuff. I've just rewritten all my nutrition stuff. And I thought I can't not include some energy and some TFT because it's just
it's all connected, isn't it?
Exactly. We're not just any one energy system, are we? We're a multiple.
I think you're right. I think when you're doing therapy with someone, it's good to have some sort of nutrition knowledge, because I like to give them the whole package.
Yes,
you know?
So do I.
Different
yeah, and also as a therapist, I don't want people to think I fix them. You know, lovely as that would be for the ego, I'd much rather they say, Janet, help me fix myself. That's what really makes me feel good. Really makes me feel good.
And this, they can carry on, you know, someone comes to see you, use TFT, they can go away, because there are other things that are going to come into their life, you know, and going to possibly cause them problems. So it's a great technique to keep you going, basically.
Well, do you know what, Dave? It's even more than that, because I always send people away, whether it's a course, a workshop, or a one-to-one. I always send them a little video of some of the things that I'm going to demo today and we can do. Because I think you have to understand that your energy body performs a little bit like your physical body. So in your physical body, you've got these 60 trillion cells, all of which are amazing, all of which have infinite intelligence, and all of which have metabolites and produce toxins. I mean, we know we produce toxins. That's why we breathe out, you know, and go to the toilet. So we produce toxins. They are a byproduct of normal metabolic activity. And it's really important to understand that you don't just have a physical body, you have an energy body. Absolutely. And in exactly the same way, that gets dirty and you need to clean it. And so, you know, the first two exercises that I'm going to demonstrate, you really want to do every morning in the bathroom. And, you know, as many of your watchers and viewers will know, the easiest way to embed a new habit is to attach it to something you already do. Absolutely. So, you know, when you turn the tap on, you clean your teeth. When you turn the tap off, you go from that tap to this tap. Yeah. So should we start with an exercise?
We can. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So on if you just look at your hand, you've got the palm of your hand and your back of your hand, and they have opposite polarity. So one's a plus, one's a negative. Okay. And in the same way that if I get this remote control, if I put the batteries the wrong way up, it's reversed, the energy's reversed, doesn't work. So every cell in your body has a polarity. You know, you remember from your biology, we've got positive and negative ions. And that's part of how things get in and out of every cell. And your whole body has a generic polarity. So making sure your batteries are the right way up in terms of energy is absolutely crucial. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So the easiest way is to just tap the side of your hand like this. Now, it doesn't matter which hand you start, you know, you could do it on the side of your head, but for the purposes of this, we're going to do this. Now, that would be, if you just feel a little bit iffy throughout the day, that's often enough. Just that by itself and a couple of deep breaths and you're good, you're set. But in terms of an energy shower, we're going to do what I call the triangle, purely because it's going to make a triangle shape. So you go from the side of one hand, same hand to the top.
To the top, yeah?
Yeah. So we've gone side of the hand, then on the index finger. Okay. And then the wide bit of the triangle is both collarbones. So on these knobbly bits here. Now make a loose fist and really give these some welly. This is your kidney meridian. And in terms of not just meridians, but other energy pathways, under here, it's like spaghetti junction of energy pathways. So give that one some welly. And then the top of the triangle, the point is under your nose. Now this meridian.
No matter which hand you use, Janet, for that.
Both hands for that.
Yeah.
And then go under your nose. Doesn't matter which hand you use.
That's it, yeah.
And then this meridian comes up your spine, over your head. And in fact, it tucks into the roof of your mouth. So if you put the tongue on the roof of your mouth, it's even better. And then staying at the top, go under your lip. And this meridian comes all the way up the front from the pubic bone and balances out that meridian. So you've got these front and back going like this. So then you just do at the top again. So that's just a little 1, 2, 3. So just as if you're going like this to balance it off. 1, 2, 3. So we've gone up one side of the triangle. Then you put the opposite hand out and you tap the index finger on that. And then you finish at the bottom.
Wow. And that's the triangle.
And that's the triangle. And now I really recommend that you do that every time you clean your teeth. But also what we could have done is say, okay, anybody watching, think about something that makes you feel, not good. Don't pick the worst thing that's ever happened to you, but think about something that you don't feel good about, then do that triangle. And very often, as an off the shelf, it will make you feel better. It will clear some of the negativity. It's the best thing to stop self-sabotage. It's the best thing if you're in a mucking fuddle with your thoughts and you can't get things around the right way and you don't know what to do. Just that one thing is the equivalent of cleaning your energy and putting your batteries the right way up. And prevention is better than cure. If you start the day, your battery's the right way up, then you haven't got to spend the rest of the day correcting. And if you do have a few iffy moments, most of the time you can just tap the side of your hand and that will be enough on its own to rebalance it. So tap and triangle.
I do use your this one. And sometimes I give it some of that.
Yeah, quite right. It's the
morning and when I go to sleep, before I go to sleep, So, by the way, anyone who's watching who's got any questions for Janet, please write them in there because that would be great. So, basic question, really, Janet. I know we've just done an exercise, but what is TFT?
Brilliant. So,
I might sort of covered it a little bit, but.
No, but I think it's really good to clear it up because there are lots of different forms and people are always saying to me, what's the difference between EFT and TFT? And I will explain the difference. And that's not by way of discrediting EFT or anything else, because that absolutely has its place and can be great. I don't think there's any form of tapping that isn't great.
Yeah.
But the difference is when TFT was discovered by Roger, the very famous story is that he'd been working with a lady called Mary for many years who had such a chronic water phobia that she couldn't even get in the shower. She couldn't have water pouring over her. She'd have a shallow bath and it was a real trauma. And he had worked with her for many years, being very highly qualified in a number of different therapies, very esteemed, chairman of various committees. And he was really unsatisfied with so many clients that he couldn't help. And he had been looking into different holistic therapies. He'd been looking in kinesiology and also all the different meridians and the emotions they're associated with. And on this particular day, just before Mary came, he'd been looking at this tapping point here, which he didn't know was a tapping point then. But under your eye here is the end of the stomach meridian. So Mary came in for her treatment and he'd got her to the point where he would treat her in his back garden. And at the end of the session, they'd walk down to the swimming pool and she would say, it's hell, but I can do it. And so this particular day, he said, how are you feeling, Mary? And she said, as always, Dr. Callahan, I feel sick to my stomach. And he intuitively said, just put your finger on this point here and start tapping it. So she starts tapping the stomach meridian. Something visibly happened. And she went, oh, it's gone. And he said, what do you mean it's gone? And she said, I don't feel sick. And she walked to the swimming pool, at which point he leapt up. And she said, no, honestly, I'm not going to jump in or anything. But I can be near water and I'm not afraid. And
that's incredible.
That night, it was in Florida. There was a thunderstorm. She drove to the beach and stood on the beach to see if it came back, and it never did. And there's various interviews, you know, buried somewhere in YouTube of him and Mary on various chat shows in the States. So, you know, this is not a My Friend John story. This is very real. So, of course, he thought he discovered the Holy Grail. Next day, someone else comes in and he says, tap there. And they go, yeah, no, still feel sick. So he realized, but it had been so profound with Mary that he really knew he was onto something.
Absolutely.
So he started using kinesiology then in the form of arm testing. So pressing if it's strong or weak, touching various points on the body, which are the center test points for each meridian. And if the arm was weak or strong, it would tell him which points needed tapping and in which order. And being the studious academic he was, he kept detailed notes for years and years. So when he first started teaching TFT, he didn't teach algorithms as I teach them. And it wasn't as simple as it is today. You had to learn to arm test. Now, my background's exercise physiology, and my sessions as a therapist are anything up to 2 hours. And I know that you can't arm test for more than a few minutes without muscle fatigue and then getting false negatives, etc.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of problems with that, but it was all they had. But what Roger did notice was that he kept diagnosing the same patterns. So there's about 25 algorithms, or which is just a posh word for sequences, that he found. So if you've got anxiety, it's probably one of these 2 or 3 sequences.
Wow.
If you've got trauma, it's probably this sequence. And so then you could train just in basic algorithms, and just using this sheet, you could just tap the sequence, and the success rate just doing that is about 70%. Well, when you think of the success rate of medication,
absolutely, yes, it's
you know, which only has to be, I think it's 40% successful to get a license. It's scary.
Yeah, it is.
But of course, it was then developed, and he went on then, and this is where it got a bit messy, to develop voice technology. And for many years, people thought voice technology was a machine because you did it invisibly. So if I was giving you a voice technology treatment now, I would turn my camera off. And so, but I would ask you questions. So people thought there was some kind of, you know, needle like on a voltmeter, and he was looking for frequencies of voice and whatever. And it turns, and so that was voice technology. And it was very expensive to learn to do voice technology, very like $100,000.
Never heard of it, to be honest.
It was very expensive. And Gary Craig went and trained in voice technology. And you can imagine how he felt when he found out that actually it's just self-testing. It's kinesiology on yourself. And so understandably, was not happy at spending that much money. And unfortunately, 2 people who then could have potentially gone on and worked brilliantly together, let's just say, parted in opposite directions. But a bit like Bandler and Grinder, which is a real shame. And but of course, Gary Craig had his own skill set, very good at linguistics. So he developed what he called emotional freedom technique. And in terms of application, the key difference is with TFT, sometimes you only need 2 points or 3 points. With EFT, as I'm sure you know, you tap all of the points and you make statements. So just, you know, not saying one's better than the other. I've done both. I prefer TFT because the way that I've developed it is even easier. And you don't even have to learn the sequences. You can just really through conversation work out which 2 or 3 points to tap. And if it's not working, there are a few cheats to correct it, which nearly always involve clearing a reversal. And you can do so. You could say to me, look, I've got this really awful thing happened. I can't speak about it. And I'd just say, that's fine. Was it a trauma? And this is what this girl did to me on my NLP course. I didn't tell her a single word. I don't even think she knew my name.
Which is wonderful.
She just knew something bad had happened. So she could see it was a trauma. And so she was able to treat me without knowing anything about it. And that was really quite incredible. So I didn't have to say, even though I have, you know, this terrible grief, I love and accept myself, I didn't have to say anything. To be honest, I was sobbing so much I couldn't have said anything. So so for me, I love the elegance of that.
So with
that's not to say there isn't a place for EFT.
No, absolutely. So with TFT, there's no vocalized.
No. But
Just,
I do use it sometimes. I do use it. In fact, let's do a demo. I don't know how many people are watching, but
we've got 3 people at the moment.
Okay, so for people that are watching, please don't pick the worst thing that's ever happened to you for obvious reasons, because I'm not connected with you on a one-to-one or anything. But think about a feeling that you've got that you really don't want to have, and it might be that you're just anxious about stuff, or I don't know, you're worried about losing your job, or you've had a row with whoever or whatever. So think about something that has happened or is happening or will happen that gives you a negative feeling. Doesn't matter what that feeling is. So it might be regret, you might be angry, you might be anxious, as long as you know what the feeling is. So you need to name the feeling. So if you feel, for example, guilty, that's the word you're going to use. I'm just going to say this feeling. And then in true blankety blank style, everybody can just insert their own.
Okay.
So if you just take a second, just close your eyes for a second, allow yourself to just calibrate that feeling that you don't want to have and identify it so you can name it. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 is really horrendous and 1 or 2 is just, yeah, I've got the information, but it doesn't hurt, just give it a number in your mind. So you're going to tap the side of your hand like this. And I want you to repeat after me. Now, Dave, because you're, also on live mic, I suggest you do what I'm going to do, is just say this feeling. Okay. So, and then nobody needs to know even what the feeling is. And that will work too, but it can be more pinpoint. So those of you that are watching this on repeat or whatever, if it's guilt, if it's anger, if it's sadness, name it. So just notice where it is. Notice where it is in your body, in your chest, if it's got a color, and say, so I'm going to say something and then I'm going to pause and you guys need to be saying it out loud. You're on mute, so you can say it out loud. So I want to be over this feeling.
I want to be over this feeling.
I want to be completely over this feeling.
I completely want to be over this feeling.
So if you don't say it right, then that's where a reversal is. So you just start that sentence again. I want to be completely over this feeling.
I want to be completely over this feeling.
I will be over this feeling.
I will be over this feeling.
I will be completely over this feeling.
I will be completely over this feeling.
It's safe to be over this feeling.
It's safe to be over this feeling.
It's safe to be completely over this feeling.
It's safe to be completely over this feeling.
I deserve to be over this feeling.
I deserve to be over this feeling.
I deserve to be completely over this feeling.
I deserve to be completely over this feeling.
It's time to be over this feeling.
It's time to be over this feeling.
It's time to be completely over this feeling.
It's time to be completely over this feeling.
I want to be even better.
I want to be even better.
I will be even better.
I will be even better.
I can be even better.
I can be even better.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
And then check in and notice if it's changing. And then we're going to repeat those statements, tapping under the nose, and then we'll see how much it's come down. So tapping under your nose. Now, if it's come down, let's say from a 10 to a 6, then you might change it slightly and say, I want to be over what's left of this feeling.
I want to be left what's over this feeling.
I want to be over what's left of this feeling.
I want to be over what's left of this feeling.
I want to be completely over what's left of this feeling.
I want to be completely over what's left of this feeling.
I will be over what's left of this feeling.
I will be over what's left of this feeling.
I will be completely over what's left of this feeling.
I will be completely over what's left over to this feeling.
I will be completely over what's left of this feeling.
I will be completely over of what's left of this feeling.
It's safe to be over what's left of this feeling.
It's safe to be over what's left of this feeling.
It's safe to be completely over what's left of this feeling.
It's safe to be completely over what's left of this feeling.
I deserve to be over what's left of this feeling.
I deserve to be over what's left of this feeling.
I deserve to be completely over what's left of this feeling.
I deserve to be completely over what's left of this feeling.
I'm ready to be over what's left of this feeling.
I'm ready to be over what's left of this feeling.
I'm ready to be completely over what's left of this feeling.
I'm ready to be completely over what's left of this feeling.
I want to be even better.
I want to be even better.
I will be even better.
I will be even better.
I can be even better.
I can be even better.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Tap both collarbones. Just take a
What's
few
the microphone?
boom. And then just put both hands over your heart and just close your eyes. Now, the thing about your heart chakra, this energy center, and the heart meridian is that it protects its own energy. So what happens when you're under stress, whether it's physical or emotional, your meridians can pull energy from each other, and especially this one here, which goes up the arm and over the head. That's the triple warmer. That's the fight or flight. And when that is fired up, it pulls from all the other meridians.
Okay.
But your heart is ring fenced. So that's always a good place to come home to, if you like.
Is there a point of, is it crossing our hands like that? Is that to do with the polarity?
Well, anything to do with crossing over is always good, because the right hemisphere controls the left side of the body and vice versa. So it's a good idea after you've done the triangle just to make a big cross, dragging that energy from one shoulder and off the opposite hip, because you want to make sure that your energy is crossed over. If it's not, it's homolateral. And again, you can arm test for that. Mm-hmm. But it's almost always, if you're reversed, then you're uncrossed as well. So the nature of doing the triangle, reaching over, swapping sides, to some extent corrects it. But as part of your energy hygiene, adding the crossover as well will give that belt and braces. So to answer your question, I think, in terms of language, that would be the only language that I would use.
Okay.
And again, I don't. Now, sometimes people like to tell me what the problem is, and within reason, I'll listen. But I don't let them give me a big long story, because I don't want them to deep dive into something that in 5-10 minutes probably won't be there.
Absolutely.
I'd rather save that time in the session for put something good where we've taken out the rubbish, because you're going to create a really magical space, and then you've got a really lovely opportunity to put something good in, and that's a much better conversation to have.
I want to say, actually, the thing that I was thinking about, it's like a sense of indifference now.
Yes.
Balance.
Yeah.
Not too up here, not too down there.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's what I like about
nice.
these energy techniques. You get a sense of balance. We've got a question, I think. Sorry.
Good.
Hello, folks. I'll put it on, actually. I think it's a question anyway. I should probably read it before I put it on. Hello, folks. I just asked last night in another group about unblocking the heart chakra when meditating. I'm struggling to connect into my heart space.
Okay. So what I would definitely do is make sure that you're not reversed, first of all. So I would do that triangle sequence, and then I would do the crossover, and then I would put your hands over your heart. Now, traditionally, we're told that the heart chakra is green. You know, it may or may not be. If for you it's sky blue pink, you know, it really doesn't matter. It's just symbolic. So you want to put it that color in your mind, and just focus on that, and imagine you've lit it like the Olympic flame, and that even if it's tiny, you just know it's like the Olympic flame. It won't have gone out because it's beating. I promise you it won't have gone out. And it is the last one ever to give up its energy. So it might be just protecting itself, but of course you can get to it because it's within you. So maybe if you're a visual person, then working on that internal flame, the Olympic flame, and feeling it. might be a good place to start. But there are other tapping sequences that you could use. So there is another, it's not a TFT exercise, but it is something that I learned in an energy medicine training that I did, which is called the temporal tap. Okay. And I'll show you that. So what happens in clinical hypnotherapy and NLP, you know, I had it drilled into me for years. You must never say anything, you know, don't use a negative positive. So don't think about blue bananas. But then I went on a 4-day course on the difference between the right and left hemisphere with Ian McGilchrist, who is just like my academic crush. And learned a lot. And actually there are quite different language patterns because the left and the right hemisphere have very different characteristics. So actually the left hemisphere responds to a different style of language. So if we stimulate the temporal lobe of the hemisphere and use different language, so if you first work out what you don't want, so it's disappeared now. I'm sorry, I didn't notice his name, the guy that asked the question.
His name's John Thompson.
Okay, John. Hi, John. Great surname. So what you want to do is start with the statement, the negative. So you want to say, I no longer struggle to connect to my heart space. So you want to write that down. I no longer struggle to connect to my heart space. And then you take your left hand. So I'm going to mirror, and you go literally about 5 or 6 taps around the side. So you're tapping the left hemisphere around the temporal lobe, and you say it out loud. So you would go, I no longer struggle to connect to my heart space. I no longer struggle to connect to my heart space. So you might do that 5 or 6 times. On the right side, you've now got to state in the positive what you want to do instead.
Oh, wow.
So, John, it needs to be your words, not mine. But it might be, I am connected. I am totally connected with my heart space. So it has to be present tense. So the first one is I no longer, puts it in past tense. And this one is present tense, and it has to start with I am or I now. So I am totally connected with my heart chakra. I am totally connected. And you would tap that again around the temporal lobe 5, 6 times, saying it out loud. So you stay I am in the positive. And you want to go backwards and forwards. So left and then right is 1 cycle. I would say do at least 3, but if it's been stubborn for a while, do at least 5, and do it every day. And it might take a couple of days. I think the longest for me, when I've been working with people that have really had stubborn things they want to stop doing, it's been up to 2 weeks. But most people, it's either straight away as soon as they do it, especially if you've done the triangle first and cleared all your your flips and your reversals. And I hope that will help. And in line with your Olympic flame, your heart energy is there and you are connected with it. You're just not aware of that connection.
Beautifully said, Janet. Beautifully said.
But that's one of the exercises in the online course, because what I wanted to do in that course was introduce lots of other energy medicine techniques that really fit well, because we were chatting before we went live, and I would just love to repeat my belief that I am the biggest advocate of TFT. I love it, but I also love clinical hypnotherapy. I love Ericksonian hypnotherapy. I love my NLP. I love a bit of CBT, and I love some of my coaching stuff. And you don't, as a chef, the best chefs don't only do puddings, desserts. You learn to do everything so that you can mix and match depending who you're cooking for. And I think it's very important that we do the same. And TFT does work brilliantly as a standalone, but it works even better if you combine it with some other energy therapies. Or, as you know, in my book, the back third of my book is all NLP. So when you use it together, if you're using 2 therapies, 1 and 1 can make 3.
Absolutely. Can I ask you, can you tell the viewers, Janet, what psychological reversal is in simple?
Yeah, so this is when your batteries are the wrong way up. So that can be, so again, I've got a plus and a minus. So it's a flow of energy, and your every cell in your body has a flow of energy. And if it goes the wrong way, that's reversed. And if you flip it through your emotions, then that's an emotional reversal, but it would still change your physical reversal. So if I said to you, right, think about the person you love most in the world. And if I then could put a voltmeter on you or arm test you, your arm would be so strong, I'd probably hang off your arm. But then if I said to you, think about, you know, a heinous criminal or your least favorite world politician, or, you know, someone that you really detest, and then I arm tested you, almost certainly you'd go weak. And certainly if I had you on a voltmeter, you can watch the needle go boom. So you can put yourself into reversal just with a thought. And that's when you need to correct it by either tapping the side of the hand or doing the triangle.
I'm going to be doing that all day, Janet, then.
Right. So, you know, if you're in traffic and you're getting a bit stroppy, you want to just do it on the side of the steering wheel.
It's funny, you know, Janet, because I've created a belief system for myself when I'm driving. I mean, I don't scream and shout at drivers, but, you know, like some people get on the punch bag and they really sort of stress, So I just have a little moan at drivers, not for no good reason, you know what I mean? And I was thinking about it the other day because I'm being negative, you know, I've got negative thoughts, I've got negative energy, and I'm probably putting myself into reversal all the time when I'm driving, you know.
Absolutely.
So I was thinking about the other day, I'm not gonna do it anymore. Definitely not.
It's funny. Do you ever listen to Eckhart Tolle?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, he and for anyone that doesn't, then you need Eckhart Tolle in your life. He wrote The Power of Now, and I listen to him and Jack Cornfield. They're the people I listen to the most. Jack Cornfield with a K is beautiful. So Eckhart Tolle was saying the other day talking about exactly that, driving in the car and getting stroppy, and you know, and he said, and I just drive along, and he said people are waving at me because I drive quite slowly. And he said I used to get annoyed, and now I just smile and I stay in the moment.
It's funny to say that because I took a trip to Glastonbury not long ago, and every time I go there, the energy there, well, it could be psychological, I could be creating it myself, but the energy seems to touch me in a way that makes me incredibly relaxed. And I'm driving home doing like you know, 50 miles an hour, just not worried about anything. And I actually prefer that. I do. So I'm going to change that, Janet.
Yeah. And the thing is, they can't hear you. So the only person that can hear your negative talk is you. And those are valuable minutes of your life you can't get back. So why are you saying something that isn't like nice to listen to?
And I'm always doing like TikTok videos and stuff about you know, what you say to yourself is paramount, you know. Do you know what? I put up a couple of TikTok videos. I haven't done it for ages, but I put up one TFT one, and like in about 2 hours, I had about 800 and odd views. Really? There you go. You're gonna have to do more, Janet. You're gonna have to do more. I was going to ask you about, we're like, you know, as an adult, you're about 76% water. Now, I'm interested in water because it has a memory, and I believe, you know, if you're negative again, the molecular structure changes with Dr. Omoso. You probably know.
Oh my God! Do you know what? I put that in. I've written 6 books. I put that in my first or second book, and with photos, and everyone thought I was absolutely bonkers.
Unbelievable.
But it's, you know, it's a real thing.
It is a real thing, definitely. And I love it. I had an epiphany with water not long ago, and now, you know, I have healing baths when I'm in the bath. All my water is blessed. I've got a bottle with a crystal in it somewhere that's got love on the top of it, you know. So I'm big on that. But I was going to ask you, like, we're in an electrical system, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, amongst other things, we don't just run on one energy. That's what makes us so unique, I think.
So water's, I mean, I could be being thick here, but water's generally a good conductor of electricity, isn't it? So, like, is it possible that our water content can affect, if you see?
Well, I don't know of any studies looking into that, but I can't see how it wouldn't affect it if you're dehydrated.
Absolutely. And this is what I was thinking today. Dehydration. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, dehydrations. The symptoms of dehydration are terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, my mum a few years ago was blue lighted into hospital. They thought she was having a cardiac arrest, and she was dehydrated. Because God bless her, she'd been so busy looking after my dad, she'd forgotten to drink, and she had all the symptoms of a heart attack. So it's really important. We need water. We're wet.
Yeah, people. I mean, the way I think about water is probably like you, because you like Dr. Emoto and put pictures in your book. So I like to think I've got a deeper understanding of water. Most people think water just comes out the tap. They know it hydrates them, the basics.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to it.
But everything that happens in the body happens in a wet environment. We're not just got this waterproof layer to stop water getting in, like if we go swimming. It's to stop the liquid that's in getting out. So we definitely need it. And I think, this whole concept of energy hygiene is so much more than just a bit of TFT. You've really got to think of all the different things that affect your energy and how you can clear it. And that, you can even do TFT and head squeezes and things to get rid of headaches and, stop any number of different things. Cells can only heal if the polarity is positive.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that cancer cells can only metastasize if the polarity is negative. So why wouldn't you want to keep all of your cells positive? Cells that have a negative
the healing process,
quickly. Yes.
And this is why a lot of people aren't healing as quickly, because there are a polarity on the physical side. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the daily self-care stuff in the online course and all my courses is about health, is about boosting immune system. Don't get me wrong, TFT, getting over spider phobias, all of that, confidence, public speaking, absolutely smashes it. But it can do so much more for your physiological and your emotional health. So if that's all you ever learn to do with it, then you're really missing out. And it's so easy to do on yourself.
This sort of journey that we're on, this sort of thing, it definitely helps your body. I mean,
oh God, yeah. We need it. You've got one body. You've got to take care of it.
Absolutely.
And it's not it's not a single thing. A human body is not a singularity. It's, depending what research you read, 60 trillion cells, all of which have an energy pathway, all of which have an intelligence, all of which need nutrition, need an environment, all of which are affected by our thoughts. Again, let's just go and read Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton.
Got it just here.
All of this can change your energy. So why wouldn't we want to learn a technique? Energy medicine, and I include TFT in that bracket, energy medicine is the oldest medicine. The oldest medicine, centuries old. It's free. It's non-invasive. We can all learn to do it, whether we want to have more confidence or whether we want to boost our immune system. These are easy peasy skills.
Well, we've got a couple of comments, Janet. Okay. John Thompson, who you answered his question before, he's saying, ironically, I'm sitting with the placebo diet right beside me. One of the many books to read, and he's just bought The Power of Now. Good for you, John, because that's a fantastic book. And we've got a question here from Kumar Kabadi, maybe. Is there any special sequences for negative thoughts?
Yeah, well, that's a bit generic to answer, so I'll do my best. But a negative thought can be anger, it can be sadness, it can be guilt, it can be anything. So let me do a quick run through of the emotions associated with each tapping point, and then I'll show you like an off-the-shelf sequence, and you can insert any one of these points that you think. And remember, you can watch this back. So this isn't live.
All recorded, folks, all recorded.
Yeah, so guys, if you're watching it and you think, I need to write this down, you're better off to do it with me and then watch it back. Yeah. But let me tell you, so this point here on the eyebrow, this is the point for trauma. So any traumatic experiences. This point here outside your eye is the point for not anger. It's more that you've got rage. So for me, the difference between anger and rage that I've noticed when I work with people is rage is quite often anger that's been there for a long time and it's gone to a deeper level. And if someone's got rage and responds to this point, they might be going, I'm so angry, I can't talk about it. So that kind of really deep rage. Wow. So I'll come on to anger in a minute. So that's a rage point. Under here, as we know, so that's anxiety, that's not feeling grounded, because there's some lovely techniques you can do using that point to make yourself feel grounded and anchored. So anything to do with anxiety or fear will be stomach. Under your nose, this one is for embarrassment, and this one is for shame. But these also help to balance your energy as well. So they all have multiple benefits. This one here, the kidney meridian, this is like your vavavoom point. If you look at the sequences that Dr. Callahan created, then he uses this a bit like a comma or a full stop, so to punctuate. You've then got under your arm, this is a good one for visualization, but it's also a good one for, again, in a sequence, you tap a few emotions, then you press that, because it visualizes or actualizes whatever it is you're working with. A bit like if you press enter on your computer after you've typed a message. Then if you put your hands out with your thumb up, as if you're going to shake someone's hand, the top of your thumb, doesn't matter which hand, is your lung meridian. And that is useful. So if you're having any breathing difficulties, just tap both together, close your mouth. If you haven't read the book Breath by James Nestor.
I've got it. It's fantastic. Oh my God.
That's the most formative therapy book I've read probably for 20 years. Amazing. So you close your mouth, you breathe in and out through your nose. But from an emotional perspective, that's grief. This top of the index finger we know is part of the balance sequence, but the emotion associated with that is guilt. The middle finger, the emotion associated with that is jealousy. The ring finger I'll come back to. The little finger, so this is anger. So what I've noticed, this works best if people are going, rah, 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 and he said this and she said that and this happened and that happened, as opposed to up here, I'm so cross I can't speak about it. So that's what tells me which of those to use. So that's anger. And then the side of your hand, as we know, is negativity. You've got on this, and this is the only one, I'll mirror it actually. So this is my left, but it's going to look like my right. So you want to do your liver point, and that's really good for toxic thoughts, especially if they're about other people.
Is that now, tapping that point, Janet? Yeah,
tapping or rubbing it.
Rubbing. I noticed you rubbing that
on the right hand side on the liver. All of the others, it doesn't matter which side. And then between your ring finger and your little finger, this channel here, if you just put 2 or 3 fingers there and tap and find that ridge, that meridian goes off here. This is your heart meridian. But this is also primarily, more than that, the fight or flight meridian. This is called the triple warmer. So the triple warmer goes up the back of the arm, up the neck, over and tucks in here. Now, this is the one that you never need to rev up. All of the others you have to rev up. With this one, it's about calming and sedating, because one thing you'll never need to do as long as you live is up your levels of adrenaline. You've got enough adrenaline in your body to last about 200 years. So you never need to rev that up. So when we tap that, we use breathing, we move the eyes, we roll the eyes, we hum, we count, we hum, so that we balance the hemispheres, we're balancing the energies, and we're calming that meridian. So those are the different emotions. So if I just give you a basic sequence, so let's say we were doing anxiety with a bit of trauma. So I always start with a triangle. So you would do, and everybody do it with me so that you get some muscle memory going. So just notice which side you're starting. So whichever hand you've got out, you're going to change that when you go to the other side. So side of the hand, index finger, both collarbones, under the nose, under the lip, under the nose, index finger on the opposite hand and the side of the hand. So then you're thinking about whatever the emotion is that you want to get rid of, and you give it a score of 1 to 10, just so you can calibrate. So I'll give you all a basic sequence. So we're going to do the sequence, then I'm going to take you through a balancing bit, and then we'll repeat the sequence. So you're going to tap on your eyebrow. So just in line with the corner of your eye at the top. And then under your eye. And under your arm. About on your bra strap, guys. So you know what I mean, right? And then under your eye again. And then collarbone. Now you're going to tap. I'm going to hold my hand up so you can see, but you don't need to. Just put your hand flat and tap it like this. If you're on a table or on your legs, it's more comfortable, but I'll do it here so you can see. So you're going to just gently tap on that spot between those two knuckles and look straight ahead, and then just close your eyes and then open your eyes. Now look down as if you're looking at number 6 on a giant clock, and number 6 is down between your feet. And then look to one side, so number 5 and then number 7. And go number 5 and number 7, and go backwards and forwards a couple of times as if these numbers are right down by your feet. And then do a couple of enormous circles. So imagine number 12 is above your head. You've got to look at it without moving your head, just moving your eyes. A few circles one way, few circles the other way. And now look at number 1, number 2, number 1, number 11, number 1, number 11, a couple of times, and close your eyes and think about your favorite color or your favorite place in nature. Where's your favorite place in nature? And just hum a tune. Now count backwards from 5 to 1 out loud. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And hum again. Close your eyes. Think about your favorite place in nature. And then we repeat the tapping sequence. So we're going eyebrow and outside of your eye and under your eye. And under your arm, and under your eye, and collarbone, and put your hand over your heart and just settle. And just feel, and sometimes it feels like you've shaken a snow globe and you just need to let things settle. And then if that's come down, great. If not, you might have needed to add one of the other points, depending on whatever the emotion was. But then you've got the side of the hand, I want to be over this negative feeling that you can do. You've got the temporal taps you can do. So there's lots, there's not just one thing. It's not like, oh, I've got to learn it, and if I don't do it like that, it's wrong. I often try different ways.
I was going to say, Janet, sometimes when I'm doing my tapping,
really creative with it.
Absolutely. I'll find a point like this, and intuitively it's like, no, stay here. It feels amazing.
Absolutely. And if any point is tender, then it really needs. And if you don't want to tap, you can just rub, especially this one here. You can just rub it.
Okay, I was going to ask you that actually, because I suppose you're rubbing the side of the side. Can you do that on all the points? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you can.
Yeah, you can.
Like
that. Yeah, because you're just moving the energy. That's what you're doing. You're moving the energy.
Okay. Well, look, talking about all these things you've been showing us, you can get that in your book, Tapping for Life.
Certainly can.
Available on Amazon, Waterstones, and Google Books. And I actually saw some today where there's some people sell second-hand copies. You know the way sometimes you get these people, obviously you want to buy a brand new one. Absolutely.
Well, if you go onto the Power to Change website, which is powertochange.me.uk,
which I do believe that's it. There we go.
Well, if you click on that for the TFT course, you can easily get back to the homepage.
Yeah, well, tell us about that, Janet. Tell us.
And there are some freebies. Well, I wrote the online course and recorded it actually over lockdown, of course, because I couldn't run any courses, and it was a time when people needed it more than ever. And you, as a therapist, you can do it over Zoom, as we've demonstrated really effectively, but also you can do it yourself. So I wrote it and I've recorded it in lots of different, the lessons are a maximum of 30 minutes long. So you watch and I'll explain it and I'll do it and I'll show it, and then you practice it. And then when you're happy with that, you click and you do the next video. And I think there's 14 or 15. And you get obviously the manual, you get my book, there's loads of little bonus videos with other exercises, you know, some sensory touch exercises, loads of other stuff over and above TFT. And if you want to become a certified TFT practitioner, then included in it are 2 mentoring sessions with me, 1-to-1, because I know a lot of people do courses online, and if you tick that you've done it and there's a little multiple choice thing to make sure you've done it, that's great. But actually, you know, I want to go to sleep at night knowing that I've taught you the best I can, and I don't think I can do that without connecting with you on a one-on-one. So you get a couple of sessions. So either you can have one of those as a treatment and the other one as a mentoring, or both mentoring, whatever you want. And if anybody wants to sign up before the end of this week, I don't know what the date is. Let's say before the first
20.
Okay, so if you're watching this and you want to sign up in the next 7 days, then I will give you an extra mentoring, which is worth another 150 quid free. Now, because I can work out how to do a voucher, it's normally 399, the course. So I just changed it to 299. So it won't stay at 299, but that's what it is now. So whether you just want it for self-care and to help friends and family, because you can't do any harm with it. No. Or if you want to put it into your toolkit, if you're a therapist, then I promise you it will over deliver as a therapy, and it will just fit so well with everything that you do. And of course, I will work with you to make sure that you get what you want from it.
And I'm sure you will as well, Janet. You know, I've heard lots of good things about your courses. Actually, I've spoken to people who've done them, and they really, you know, highly rate it, because you're very passionate about what you do, and like you said, you want people to get the best out of it. Yeah,
for sure.
Lots of courses where you do the course and you basically you don't hear from anyone anymore, whatever.
No, you want to be doing it every single day. So energy hygiene, guys, triangle, crossover. Make yourself a little post-it note, stick it in your bathroom near your tap. And after a week or so of noticing your post-it note and doing it, another really nice time to do the triangle is in the shower. Standing in the shower, doing the triangle and the crossover.
The water again, Janet, the water again.
It's the best. But you've really got to condition yourself. Your energy needs cleaning. You don't want smelly energy any more than you want BO or bad breath. Absolutely. You do not want to start the day with bad energy. You must clean it. And the same thing, the end of the day, before you go to sleep, clean your energy and you will sleep much, much better.
It's amazing, actually, Janet, because, you know, like I've got young children, you know, they're like 14 and 11, God bless them. And I've taught them all the techniques, you know, whatever, even some NLP techniques, and they use them.
Yes.
And, which is fantastic. But and then I think when I was younger, I wish I'd had a dad like that that would have this knowledge, you know. So it's
it's cool, isn't it?
It's really good.
No, we've got to pay it forward. It's just so important. You know, whether we're doing it for a living. I mean, I do it for a living, but I can promise you I do it all the time for free. I've got a place in Spain. I go backwards and forwards, and I nearly always end up sitting next to someone who says, "What do you do?" And I think, "Oh, okay, there's a reason I've sat next to you." I've done all sorts of treatments sitting on the plane. So, you know, I think you just have to keep putting it out there, because it's just much nicer to help someone if you can, and paying it forward.
And like you say, you know, people who do the course, all this information, they can, you know, use it on themselves every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what's happened to me twice as well. I've been near people who've collapsed, and I've called an ambulance. I must tell you one more story. And who've collapsed, and I've tapped the side of their hand and kept them calm. And the ambulance arrived and my God, you know, how on earth have you kept them calm? So almost to the day, in a couple of weeks, I had a horrendous fall from my cycling bike, horrendous. And I knocked myself out, and I was out cold for about 5 minutes. And I looked like I'd been through a windscreen. I'd hit the gravel one side, flipped to the other side. Honest to God, I looked like something you see on the front of the Mail on Sunday who's been battered in their own home. And when I woke up, 2 people had stopped, get this, an off-duty nurse and an off-duty policewoman.
Oh, lucky you, Janet.
No, I talk about earth angels. So I've got 3 children. So they obviously clocked I didn't have a wedding ring on or whatever. And I remember the first thing them said to me was, "Have you got children?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." I mean, that's how much I'd knocked myself out. I had no clue. But I said to this policewoman, "Can you tap the side of my hand?" And bear in mind, it was a bit shredded, but I said, "Please just tap the side of my hand," because I was mangled in my bike and they didn't want to move me. So she started tapping the side of my hand. And then about a minute later, I said, "I have got children." And every time I started to feel a bit funny and not right, she started tapping the side of my hand. Anyway, a paramedic came because the ambulance was nearly 2 hours. So first of all, I had a paramedic come for roadside assistance to wire me up and do this and do that and give me painkillers and whatever. And he said, "What are you doing?" And she went, "I've got no idea, but it's definitely helping."
Wow.
As soon as he untangled the bike, and then eventually when the ambulance arrived, I sat in the ambulance with the arm I could use and did a sequence for trauma. And honest to God, I've never felt a moment's trauma. And I nearly died. And I never felt a second's trauma. In fact, it was one of the best days of my life because I experienced so much kindness that day. It was just like a complete lesson in human kindness. It was brilliant. And so I like the way you're going to need it.
I love that. You know, I do that as well, Janet. I look back at things that could have been a catastrophe.
Yeah,
I can't even say it properly. And I see, you know, often there's so much goodness in there. You know?
Yeah,
definitely. I always like to see there's always goodness in there, and I always say always, definitely, yeah. So we have still got a few people watching. If anyone's watching wants to ask Janet a question before we close up, that would be fantastic. So you're going back to your course again,
yes.
Janet. What's the date? What's the last date that they can?
Well, I'll just keep that offer for the extra mentoring for a week. So a week today.
Okay, so a week today, everybody, to take advantage of that very reasonable price course.
And I have a Facebook group, which if you've got just for people that have bought the course.
Okay.
So if you've got a question while you're doing the course, you can post it in there, and other people will help and benefit, or post little videos and things as well. But you know, I just want people to be the best that they can be. So, you know, and I learn something from other people every time I do it. But the beauty of the online one, as opposed to the 2-day one, is you can take as little. You could do it in a weekend if you want to and treat it like you've attended it, or you can do it over months. It really doesn't matter. And
Well,
you,
there
and
you
you
go.
just
So
you
if
get
you've
to feel
got lots
better.
going on in your life, you can spread it over a bit of
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Oh,
lovely.
thanks for having me, Dave. I really enjoyed it.
It's it's fantastic, Janet. And we did say before we went live that you're also quite involved in nutrition.
Yeah, it's a big part of
and
what I do. Yeah.
so I'd love to have you back on at some point.
Yes. Yes. So I've just
do
finished
a talk on
rewriting
that.
my nutrition system. I've written a whole new system. And again, I've taken really complicated science, simplified it into a color-coded system, 3 colors. It's nothing to do with traffic lights or anything. But honestly, it's so simple, and your body will love you for it. And it's not a diet.
Fantastic. So we're going to have Janet back on at some point to do, talk about the nutrition side of things. And I hope everyone's enjoyed the talk. I've certainly enjoyed it. I was really looking forward to this, Janet. Definitely.
Good. Me too.
And if you get, it'd be really great if people watching this on the recording, if they could like and subscribe, because it, gives us a better opportunity to get the messages spread out there to the viewers about what's available in the world of therapy. So, Janet, if you just stay online for like a minute after we go off live, just to have a chat with you. So, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and it's always a joy to share these wonderful therapies with you. So, thank you very much.
Lots of love, everyone.
Woohoo!